Brian Kelly joins us. A year ago, we were saying hello to you for the first time, and you passed the first test fairly well.
Yeah, we hung in there. Yeah, we found our way to the finish line. We had a couple of bumps along the way, but it was a good first year.
You did. You created so many expectations. We had Scott Rabelais from the Baton Rouge paper on. So I think right now the conversations about has LSU moved into the driver's seat. Those are things I know you love to hear as a coach.
I knew I came down here with high expectations. So, look, you know, I mean, this is the SEC.
Yeah.
So you're not coming down here with, the opportunity to hide. There's no hiding down here. So it's what I expected. We still have some work to do, quite frankly. I mean, Georgia, Alabama have been, the staples here, and we've got some work to do, but we're up for the challenge.
Yeah, well, your fans are ready for that work to be done.
No doubt.
We're chatting about a number of things. You've been in meetings all day. I know coaches right outside one of the prettiest beaches in America love to sit in meetings, but was anything accomplished today?
I think so. Look, as you know, the hot button topics are certainly name, image, and likeness, transfer portal, scheduling, to name a few, gambling. I think all of those have probably touched your desk in terms of the topics that you've talked to your guests about, and certainly everybody that follows your show. And we have to address them as well. And they're not easily handled in a meeting, but we have to address them.
I think I know the answer because when you took this job, you said I want to play the best.
Yeah.
So you play the best by playing as many games in the SEC as you can. So do you think this 8-9 conversation is as critical right now? Will it be resolved, and how?
I think it'll be resolved. I think that there is a desire when you have all the parties here. They recognize that there's an urgency to get something done. So I think by the end of the week, with the presidents here, the athletic directors here, coaches, obviously, our commissioners is wanting to get something done. I think you'll see something done by the end of the week.
Yeah, you made a really good point there, because it's one thing to pontificate. It's another thing to look around the room, in that room, because at Notre Dame, I think one year you had the ACC connection, but
yep.
Your spring meetings were... There were no spring meetings.
There were none. I got a chance to sit on the sideline and many of those, and we weren't part of it. And when you come down here, and look, it could be a dog and pony show if you wanted, but when you get a sense when we came down here, actionable items needed to be addressed, right. And I got that sense from, again, from our commissioner and from everybody in the room that we need to move on some items, and we got that sense today.
You knew some of the coaches, obviously, having spent a lifetime in coaching, but you guys are not often in a room together. Maybe once in the winter. They're big personalities.
Yeah.
Maybe big egos. I don't know. I've never
Probably both.
But when you're in there with 13 other coaches, what is it? Does it help from a collegiality standpoint? Does it affect things? What happens?
Paul, I think there's a respect, for everybody's position in terms of where we are. And I think for the most part, there's like-mindedness in terms of the things that we have to get done. And we don't have all day to sit there and pontificate and talk about our own personal opinions as much as we got to get some things done. So I think guys put those kind of thoughts aside and find out how we can get to a quick consensus on, as you know, probably some of the most explosive things that we've had in college football in some time. So I think that gets done.
Kirby Smart was here a second ago, and he mentioned there's a new twist. These state laws, these state legislatures that have passed NIL legislation that are really making it difficult. Everyone says the same thing about Congress. I mean, you have a great background in politics. I know you're not expecting them to do anything.
Well, look, I think what's happened here is unintended consequences, right? Everybody saw NIL and felt like if I don't act in my own state, I could be left behind. And so we had legislation in different states that really, put everybody in a position within this footprint of the SEC at a different advantage point. And that's not what the SEC needs nor wants. And so how do you bring everybody back together? Well, you need Congress for that. And so I think that's the next step, is how do we get that? And I think you got to go individually to your own, congressional legislative team and really talk about where, if we want national competition and we want to be, the preeminent conference, we've got to get this thing, we've got to put the genie back into the bottle.
Yeah, we may. I think what I've heard from you, and we may have solved the problem. I think we've been sending the wrong people. We've been sending administrators. I mean, Brian Kelly goes to the Louisiana delegation. They're all going to show up for the picture, at least.
As long as there's crawfish and we can talk some LSU football, I know we'll be able to get some work done. But Paul, it's a great point, because they need to see or hear the perspective that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And I think if we can give them that perspective, and maybe what we offer our players as well, and what we do for them on a day-to-day basis, I think it would give them the right perspective.
Couple of minutes remaining as you look toward the season, and I know you are. Expectations high, understandable, but how do you feel about where this program is in terms of, you mentioned the Alabama-Georgia gap. How do you close that?
Player development. Look, anytime you have to take multiple players through the transfer portal, that's a bit of a red flag. And we probably took too many. And I think we're probably another year of recruiting and player development to have that consistency and depth that we need. But we're going to have a good football team. We're going to have to play smart, and all the adages that you've heard many coaches who have sat next to you talk about. We're going to have to stay injury free, but we've got a quarterback that is developed, and we've got probably the confidence now that we can go into games and believe that we can win. Those are really good things to have when you go into a conference like the SEC.
And going back to the beginning of last season, with just a couple of seconds left, I mean, I don't need to remind you of that first game. That was not a confident team.
No, not at all. That was, the bad news bears. But it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And they developed.
Right.
And they knew they developed by the way they played at the end of the season. So you build off of how you finish. And now they have some confidence in the way they practiced in the spring, and how they feel about themselves now is what you build off. Now we've got another team, obviously, in Florida State that feels the same way, and so it'll be a great matchup against Florida State.
We so much appreciate your time. Enjoy the conversations always, and we wish you well.
Thanks,
Hope to see
Paul.
you soon.
I'll be back.
I can't wait.